About 3 days ago, I posted a meme that went controversial, but if I work a full time job, I should be able to live in a 1 bedroom apartment by myself and not starve myself to make rent. Now, the comments to this, I was reading what y'all were saying. It seems to be half and half. Some of y'all agree with this, and some of y'all don't. And I think it introduces an interesting perspective. Now, I don't know why YouTube does this for me now. Is this just me? Does this happen to you guys too? But it shows the handles of people instead of your actual username. So I assume your name is Mario Mario. Okay, so Mario Mario says, depends on your job. And I want to emphasize a point here that is my opinion, just my opinion. I feel a lot of people sell their souls. Not in the way of like selling your soul for fame or something like that. What I mean is some people, let's say you work at a grocery store. Let's say minimum wage is $15 for you. That's how much it is in New York City, right? To do a job is $15 an hour, minimum wage. You got to think about your value system. Unless you are a lazy, unmotivated, or you just anything of that relation, I like to believe most people's time is worth more than $15 an hour. Do the math. Most people sleep for about 6 to 8 hours a day. If you're working a full-time job, you're usually working another 8 hours per day. That's about 16 hours added up so far, which means you only get 8 hours to yourself of that 24 hours. Probably 2 of those 8 hours that you have to yourself, you're traveling to work, back and forth. 30 minutes to an hour, let's say you're traveling, right? So you have 6 hours to yourself per day if you're working a full-time job. God forbid you have school on the side, right? You're trying to get an education so you can get a better job, right? Or you probably lost more time. God forbid you have a relationship. That takes time too. Or you have a family, even lesser time. If I'm going to spend 8 hours a day, 8 hours of my day working, I can assure you it is worth more than minimum wage. That $15 an hour, it's just not enough. So to settle for that, in my opinion, I feel like you're selling your soul out. If I had no choice, right? Let's say I got to work that $15 an hour to feed my family, to pay my expenses, right? Let's say I got to do that. I need the money. It better come with full-blown benefits. In 2024, there are jobs that obviously pay minimum wage, but they come with benefits. But there are also jobs that pay minimum wage that don't come with benefits. You know what I'm saying? These employers are paying dirt money. They make so much more than you do, and they don't even show up for work half the time. The manager gets paid the most, but they do the least amount of work. Half of the time, they're just directing things. If you don't think that's exploitation, I don't know what to tell you. Now, am I saying, okay, if you're working a minimum wage job right now, quit your job? I'm not saying that. No. What I'm saying is, we're in a system where this is normalized, and you have to value your time more. Again, if you got to do a minimum wage job, you got to find the best employer you got to where you can receive the most out of the time you're putting in. If I was working at a grocery store right now at minimum wage, for example, I better be seeing a lot of paid time off opportunities. I better be seeing a lot of opportunity for training programs so I can improve my resume in case I start looking for another job. And I better see health insurance benefits or some sort of expenses being paid. If none of these or most of these aren't being fulfilled, I'll start looking for another job right now. If it's still minimum wage, fine. But I need my time to be valued more. If you don't value your time, can you honestly say with a straight face you value yourself? Keep it honest here. If you don't value your time, what do you expect is going to happen here about not being able to afford a place to stay? Now, in regards to this meme, and going back to the comment here, when he says depending on the job, I do somewhat agree with him. It depends on the job. Some jobs have skill sets that I think warrant a proper living situation. Certain jobs pay the amount they pay for specific reasons. They pay minimum wage for a reason here, people. It's about the skill set it requires, not so much on how much work you have to do at that job. Your job may pay minimum wage, but you put in a lot of work. They're not paying off of that. They're paying off of skills. That's why I mentioned how the manager gets paid more, but in a lot of places, they aren't working as hard as the regular employees. It's because they're supposed to have a skill set of managing people. Therefore, they get paid more. But at the same time, the full-time job that you have should guarantee some sort of benefit for your living conditions. Hence why my whole point I made in the first quarter of this video so far is about your benefits and opportunities. See, now we can get political here. Most of us watching this video live in a capitalist society in some formal way. And communism, in theory, because communism is still mostly a theory that hasn't been truly implemented to be in long enough to see how effective it can truly be in the long term. You know what I'm saying? Since people hate it so much, okay, that's why communism hasn't really survived. In communism, the idea that everybody gets basic needs, like access to a living space, that may seem better. It sounds great, but I don't know how much it would affect the economy. For example, in Canada, they have a free healthcare system. In America, we're all complaining about, oh, we need healthcare and stuff like that, right? And healthcare is so expensive. I agree. Listen, healthcare is really expensive here. But in Canada, they believe in universal access to medical services as a basic need. However, the overall tax rate in Canada is crazy. Yo, listen, who do you think is paying for these public services that is labeled free? Yeah, it's free healthcare, but your taxes are through the roof. And it's not as surface level as you think here, people. Those taxes are not just paying for the public services of healthcare. It's paying for the education, the infrastructure, the social programs, and the pensions of the healthcare system. So it's not just, oh, yeah, I'm paying taxes for free healthcare and it's paying for the doctors who are working right now. No, it's paying for everything. So on paper, the communist theory of everyone getting basic needs, regardless of having a full-time job or not, sounds amazing. But this comes with an expense, and we don't truly know how well it would work. Now, with all the money in the world, in my opinion, is this affordable? Is it possible that everybody could get a place to live? I might say so, in my opinion. Okay, I think there's a lot of money in the world. I think a lot of people just aren't sharing it. You know what I'm saying? But this ends up going to the topic of taxing the wealthy at high amounts to compensate for services. That's how some people are trying to deal with it. And again, it gets deeper into a rabbit hole about politics. I'm not a political person like that. I'm just giving my perspective and my 2 cents. I just think certain things sound good on paper, like this meme here. But the idea needs to be tested. Another person in the comments, White Super Memus, in the comments, I like that name. In the comments, he said that he fell for the college scam of being thousands of dollars in debt. This is another example of what I just mentioned. Some countries, they pay for your college, but it comes with an expense, the taxes or something like that. In America, you gotta pay for your own stuff all the time. So you see, and people think like our country is trash, like because that's the case. Yo, you should see. That's why people like the freedom here. That's the thing. That's why the system is like this. People like the freedom. So you see, it's really hard to win with this topic. Now, Aku, how do you feel? Me personally, do I wish people had better living situations? Of course. I live in New York City. There's homeless people everywhere. I hate to see it. I see homeless people working jobs, but they can't afford a place to stay. I think this take that she has in this meme here, it is indeed controversial. But I don't think it's possible in this system. We would have to throw away our whole system for this to work. Now, there are ways to cheat the system. My half-brother, for example, he has 3 children. He filled out some application. I don't know what it's called. He filled out some application so he could live in some apartment complex funded by the government. And the rent that he has to pay is $200 a month. What? He has his own place to live for $200 a month? But to be accepted, he had to prove he had kids that were his, obviously. He was married and he was getting paid a small amount. That's why some people get married, despite knowing the unfair advantage that the marriage system can have. Sometimes you got to get married to receive the benefits from the government if you have kids or you want a better living situation. Remember that I told y'all that at one time my girlfriend was living in the UK. I'm across the whole Atlantic Ocean here, okay? I was mentioning that if we got married, Aku getting married, shaking my head, like, you know what I'm saying? But if we got married, she would get full citizenship to America, a full-blown work permit. She would get social security benefits, tax benefits, potential inheritance benefits from me. I could keep listing stuff. I told y'all months ago we were going to get married so she could just get the benefits, also because I obviously loved her. But my point is, there are many ways to cheat the system and get benefits from it. We just got to be educated on it. And I've given advice myself on this channel. You just got to learn how to maneuver through the system. Is it illegal to do that? No. Unless you really do something illegal. But every system has imperfections and loopholes. You just got to play the game. Let me tell y'all one I discovered last year, and it relates to this meme here about living expenses. And I hope this really helps people here. Because if you have a full-time job and you can't find a place to live, let me share something. I mentioned a few videos ago. I think it was a few videos. I think you need to have a good credit score to find a good apartment in New York, at least. But to build your credit score, you have to use your credit card, or you have to have good credit history, which my parents told me never to use. It's like when people say, how am I supposed to get a job? And they want experience, but I can't get a job to begin with to get that experience. So I figured out, you could go on Airbnb and rent a whole place out for a whole month, and it costs less than paying for a rent in an apartment. I'm dead serious. If you have Airbnb on your phone, or you just go on your web right now, or go on the browser, go to Airbnb, look it up. Look up a place in a nice neighborhood that is renting out right now. Put the time period for 1 whole month, like you're going to stay for 1 whole month. And you'll notice that this costs cheaper than being in an apartment. And they don't even check your credit. There's no credit check on Airbnb, so they can't deny you based off of bad credit or having no credit history. You want a place to live alone or a room to stay for a whole month? That's one way to do it. That's one way. And you can keep doing that every back to back. You can just keep finding a place to live. Listen, I can keep pulling tricks up my sleeve here. I actually rented out a whole basement in some wealthy neighborhood last year for a whole month. So see, there are ways to beat the system and maneuver through it. You just got to learn. You just got to learn them. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, this is my whole take on this and my opinion on this. How do you guys feel? Do you agree or disagree? Let me know down below. This episode is found on Spotify and YouTube, Times Square.
Nightmare 7 a.m. in the morning though. No surprise. Times Square's you and I under those lights. No disguise. Don't tell me everything you wanted was a lie. All those city lights, it's an endless night. Never expected you to bring me so much life. Close my eyes too long, then it's time to say goodbye. Let's dance all night until the stars don't show glow. Till the sunrise, then we go solo. Making up for all the times that we were low. Let's make some memories before we do go. Let's dance all night until the stars don't show glow. Till the sunrise, then we go solo. Making up for all the times that we were low. Let's make some memories before we do go. Caution. Wait a moment, keep my heart locked away, it's filled with emotion. Gave the key to you, right in front of you is open. Hey, try your best to not leave it broken. Oh, it's been a while since you know it's frozen.